2. Okay. I believe we're live. Welcome, everyone, to the Prosper Nutrition Show, where we want you to prosper and be in health. Oh, make sure I'm muted here. Getting feedback. Want to make sure we're good here. All right. Yeah, we're good. My name is Jason Steves. I'm a clinical account specialist with Perk Integrative Health, and I'm joined by my co-host and our nutrition expert, Steve Steves. He's a certified clinical nutritionist. He's a naturopath, and he's been doing this work clinically, seeing clients for 30 years, helping them to improve their health after himself changing from being an electrician to becoming a nutritionist because he went through a health trial and overcame it, and people were seeking his guidance. So, Steve, thank you for helping so many people and joining us today on the show.
You're welcome. Excited about this topic, Jason. A lot of people are just a bit aloof about vaccines and the flu and how the immune system works. Excited to get into that material.
Right. Yeah. It's a controversial topic. And so we want to make sure you guys know we are not medical professionals. We're not doctors. We don't diagnose or treat disease, and we like it that way. We know that the power is in helping you heal, equipping you with the knowledge and the tools that you can take and use in your life, and you can repair your body and heal. So that's what we're all about. And so you don't have to worry about, seeking our medical opinion, where it's not something that we're doing here. But on that note, we will make comments about what's going on in the medical industry and what they're doing and what we think about it. We're going to share our perspective. And at the end of the day, you have the choice to make. It's your choice on what you do. And we encourage you to choose to visit prospernutrition.com. There, we've got supplement formulas that Steve has been using for 30 years clinically with his nutrition clients. And so those formulas have been really well developed. We had a doctor that we've been fortunately blessed to be mentored by over the years, who helped us with those formulations and is continuing to mentor and guide us in regard to how to use them effectively and essentially understanding the power that we have in those formulas to help our bodies to heal. So check out prospernutrition.com. Take the supplement starter quiz so that you know which supplements are a good start. It actually will recommend a bundle that's ideal for you to get started with. And so take that starter quiz. Contact us if you have questions. We are here for you. And also download the free 7 Proven Steps guidebook. Over the 30 years Steve has been working, I've actually been working with him about 15 years. It's something that we've distilled down as far as what we're teaching people to do to repair their body and heal. And so we put them into that 7 Proven Steps guidebook. So download that guidebook. It's free to you. We just want to get your name and email so that we can stay in touch and help continue to give you more information. So check that out. And today we're going to be talking a bit about the flu shot, what all that's about. There's a lot of stuff to talk about there, Steve. So let me go ahead and share the visual of the article so that people can see what article. It's on healthline.com. Let's see here. Healthline.com. Will the flu shot work this year? I thought it was interesting, Steve, when it said they actually said this year. So does that mean it didn't work before, like last year? Or was it's like
that's good. It's kind of funny. Following through this article and reading the words, it's like I would be a confused student if this was a class somebody was trying to teach me something.
Oh, yeah. Right. Well, it's confusing. It is confusing for people.
I like
That's why we're here.
I like this first line. A new report from the CDC finds that the flu shot was over 50% effective at preventing illness during the flu season in the Southern Hemisphere. Okay, 50% effective at preventing 50%. What does that mean?
Yeah,
50% effective.
Well, and that's the question I was going to ask you about this article, because I was thinking about it. It's like, does the flu shot work? Okay, does it work to do what? I think that's the question. There's so much deception in the medical field about like what is working, or cures and whatever, that all of that stuff, treatment.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Part of it, I got to tell you, part of it, when I looked at it, I go, does that mean that 50% of the people that got vaccinated lived and 50% died?
Yeah, right.
So that was showing it was. I'm sorry, I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
So, and then scroll down on the 52% in the Southern Hemisphere. So here's another one of those lines that has no intelligence behind it. Early signs point to the flu vaccine preventing illness in the Southern Hemisphere with 52% effectiveness. Okay, so that's good. So more than half of them lived in this one. And I'm going to make a comment here about what works mean and what it means to be effective as far as a shot, what all that means. And then you share as well, Steve, because we'd love to hear your experience on the matter, because you're my dad. When I was young, you guys decided, okay, we're gonna stop giving our kids shots for this X, Y, and Z. But one of the things that I've learned is that the main function of a shot, a vaccination for a certain virus, is not necessarily to help the body as much as it's to try to get the immune system to not react so much. So it's almost suppressing the immune system. And I don't know if the flu vaccinations are designed that way, but that's something that I've kind of heard about vaccinations. Well, you read the story of Antoine Béchamp and Louis Pasteur, and when all that silliness started, and the politics behind it, even back in that day. And you're trying to introduce a foreign antigen into the bloodstream with a vaccine. Now, the problem with that is that the immune system has multi-layers to it, just like we have multi-layers to our defense system in America. We've got a Coast Guard, we've got the Army and Navy and Air Force and the Marines and Special Forces and the CIA. And so there's a whole level of defense that watches over and protects this nation and the people of this nation. That's exactly how our immune system was designed, with natural killer cells, lymphocytes, neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils, alveolar macrophages in the lung. They're all busy working to identify viruses, bacteria invading all kinds of organisms, and especially our environment, not whether they're a live virus or a dead virus that comes in, toxins from the environment. So I thought it was interesting in that reducing the effectiveness by 52% in the Southern Hemisphere, Argentina, and Chile, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay. What is your take on that, Jason? What do you see they're saying effectiveness? Does it mean that people got the flu and they got over it quicker because they were vaccinated? Because most of the clients that I've worked with, when they were vaccinated, they did end up getting the flu, whether it was COVID and we've got a good video testimony on that as well. We might include with Patricia.
Yeah. So the effectiveness associated with any influenza virus was 52%. So the effectiveness of the vaccination is what they're referring to there, correct? Let's see here, acute respiratory infections. And so, my understanding from what I've gathered in working with an immunologist, our mentor, Dr. Russell Jaffe, is that there's correlation in regard to this data that they're getting. But a lot of times the medical community won't say that it's correlation. Correlation is different from causation. So they'll take a bent in regard to this. They'll say, well, the effectiveness, there's 52% effectiveness of the vaccination, but they're not factoring in the other lifestyle components. There's a lot of other working parts. And so when you're talking about data like this, I mean, have you ever heard the term 80% of statistics are correct, or 50%, or it's kind of any number you choose, but it's what it means. Essentially, the idea is a lot of the statistics thrown out there aren't very good. It's not very good information, not very good data, because there's so many other variables that it's hard to be very clear. And so that's one of the ways I think about it is, when we're helping people at the office with their health, we know that there are multiple lifestyle factors involved with improving their health. It's not just one thing. There are multiple nutrient factors affecting their health. It's not just one nutrient. And so that's the way I think about it is, okay, they took the vaccination. That was a person, they took the vaccination. Whether or not they got a result, it's placebo. Placebo is 50%. If you get better than placebo, and most people, haven't really looked closely into placebo, but generally people know the idea of placebo in that you believe that you're going to get better, and you do. And the way the medical community observed the placebo was through sugar pills. So they'd give people a sugar pill for an ailment, and 50% of the time they get better from that ailment just by taking a sugar pill that has nothing to do with helping their ailment get better.
Yes.
And so
good, excellent point. Excellent.
The belief is a powerful thing.
Yes, it is.
And so but it doesn't override, belief doesn't override the actual wiring. If you really want the best results consistently, you believe and you do the things that actually are going to help you get the results. And so that's where the 7 proven steps have come in. That's where that guidebook has come in, is we've observed these are the lifestyle factors that have a huge impact on helping people improve their health. So focus on getting those right, and you'll resolve a whole litany of health issues, especially like a flu or virus or whatever you may be dealing with.
Yeah, there was a study done that recorded at in PubMed. It was done by Hughes on prayer and healing, and it was a case study by Journal of Holistic Nursing, and they found that immune compromised patients who had a faith-based intervention such as prayer had shown much more positive outcomes with their healing regardless of the condition. I mean, this is global. This isn't just viruses. This is people with cancer and heart disease. And so that's one of our 7 proven steps. We know that God will intervene, and we rise up in faith and trust. And one of those others was our sleep. Of course, we know that if we don't get sleep, we're not getting growth hormone to regenerate. And so there was another study on that done on Health Alliance on the effect of sleep and immune building. And even more importantly, I always like to mention that there's 2 components that are often missing when people don't sleep well, and that's getting enough GABA and getting enough serotonin, which we have in our muscle power, and sleep and calm. And I encourage those of you listeners, check those products out. I take them daily. They are quite remarkable for multiple perspectives, not just for sleep, but for calming the nervous system, for activating muscle repair, for healing gut damage, environmental factors. And that's where the first line defense is. We talked about the virus getting injected through a vaccine, and then it passes that first line of defense. Well, the first line defenders in your mucous membranes, most people aren't aware that they produce 3 to 4 pounds of mucus a day. So we want to keep those mucous membranes healthy, and water is one of the components. If you don't drink enough water, your mucous membranes in the throat and your digestive tract start to build up waste material. So just hydrating well helps to improve immunity. Of course, stress modification, and we know exercise enhances immunity on a regular basis about 250%. Wow. And then and food, of course, is our medicine. Regarding that, we need food. And according to the research, it's the Mediterranean diet that has the most immune protective effect. There's an article in PubMed on that, done by Sacanelli and Estruch, called The Immune Protective Effect of the Mediterranean Diet Against Chronic Inflammatory Diseases. And the flu is an inflammatory disease. Cytokine levels go up and causes great inflammation. That's what you feel. You get fever, you get headache, you get nausea, your body's quite inflamed. So that's kind of a quick run through on 6 of those 7 pillars. And of course, the 7th one is always our last go-to, which is supplementing targeted nutrition to just turn on those immune molecules to respond to viruses. And vitamin C, of course, is the number one. And most people are not aware that vitamin C is a nutrient that you don't just take when you start to feel sick. It's one that you need continuously because your adrenal glands use it on a regular basis. They use 50% more vitamin C than all your other glands. And the connective tissue uses it. So there's a constant need for repair. When you wake up in the morning, you should be refreshed and healed and repaired. And ascorbate vitamin C is really important for that. Clearing the mucous membranes, of course, as it fuels the gut mucosal cells. And then if you want to tell them briefly about the regularity of using the vitamin C cleanse, which clears the mucous membranes and then lowers that antigen load that always puts us at risk for getting the flu.
Yeah, the vitamin C cleanse, if y'all haven't seen it, we've got it on our YouTube page. So it's one of the videos that we posted. Amy, who is my mother, Steve's wife, she did a great job of showing how to do the C cleanse. And then we've got a guide. Our 30-day detox actually has a simple guide in it for doing the cleanse. But the frequency is actually, it can be something, and you've told me that you've had people that have been severely diseased who essentially did one just about every morning. And they were able to clear their body of heavy metals. They were able to overcome diseases like, cancerous tumors and things like that. But as far as maintenance, it's actually good to think about doing it once a week. But you can, you don't have to do it once a week, but because
that's a good protocol. I recommend that. I mean, at least they can reset on a weekly basis. You don't know from the stress you're under or environmental changes whether your immune system wants more or needs less ascorbate vitamin C. So the calibration for that is really important. And we have a handout for that as well. Right.
Yeah. So it's really valuable to do that regularly, to know how much you need on a daily basis, but also to help clear your body. And that's a good one. I try to do it at least once. Well, there are periods where I've gone doing it once a week, and things tend to go much better when I'm doing it once a week. It's a really good way to keep the body healthy. So I had some questions here for you. Get your feedback, Steve, on shots. Were there any other things you wanted to say about that article that we looked at about the flu shot being effective this year?
But when they go down to talk about how to protect yourself against the flu, it's interesting. Clearing away disinfected surfaces, getting plenty of sleep, staying active. Of course, they know exercise increases immunity, but they don't use that word. I guess that word's a little taboo. Managing stress, maintaining a healthy diet. Of course, what does that look like? And that's it. I mean, that's all they offer on what you can do to prevent. But then the CDC recommends these other things. Avoid close contact with people, cover your mouth, wash your hands, avoid touching your eyes or nose. Back in the day when children would get chicken pox, families would get together so that they would help spread the bacteria, or actually it was a herpes virus related to that, so that they would activate their own immunity and their children would build immunity. So the more exposure we get, the stronger immunity that we get. So we're going to be exposed out there. You just can't avoid it. And trying to avoid it is just not, it's not a God thing. We are creatures of fellowship. I know so many lives that were destroyed by the foolishness of quarantining people during that time period. It was
division. Yeah. More
terrible.
division. Yeah.
Divorces and all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah, I would agree. And when this started happening, I dove kind of into one of the things you mentioned earlier was Antoine Béchamp's work and how he and Louis Pasteur kind of went different ways in regard to the theories, but all that happened. But I kind of looked at what a virus is, and that's something that most people don't understand of what exactly a virus is. And I asked Dr. Jaffe about it when I was learning a bit more about like what it is, and it sounding very similar to things that are considered extracellular vesicles. It's another name by, I think it's a different field in the health industry that they label. I think a virus would fall under the category of extracellular vesicles, but essentially what it is it's not living. A virus is not a living thing. It's like it comes from a living thing. So, for example, this is the way you could think of it. So you think of a cell, and actually, I've got a little visual here of cells that we've got here at the office. I'm gonna pull this up here. This would be helpful. So normally you teach people on this, the blood sugar metabolism, right? But it's helpful to get a visual of a cell here. And so a cell will put off extracellular vesicles that use a bilipid layer. So essentially, viruses or extracellular vesicles are signals that cells put off. And to think about when what science has basically said is you want to avoid each other because you guys, everyone is putting off extracellular vesicles or viruses, and you're going to come in contact with somebody else's extracellular vesicles or viruses, and that's going to make you sick. But if it's just not a living thing and it's actually information being passed between bodies, the thing that actually ends up causing us to be sick is not necessarily that information that we come in contact with, but it's actually the way our body is able to process that information.
Exactly.
And so that's
part of just what you said about part of what happens when the cell is throwing off the extra cellular vesicle. It is in that process, we could call it detoxification at the cellular level. And the body's trying to dump that. And many times those symptoms of detoxification are the symptoms of the flu. As when we get an overload, for example, of extracellular vesicles being dumped out of the system. And that's a good thing. That's your immune system doing its job. You don't want to suppress those symptoms when they come. It's the body reacting and doing its dumping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And well, it's just helpful to know what these things are, because we then understand our role in all of this. Our role isn't to avoid all these extracellular vesicles. Our role is to help our body to be prepared to take that information and adapt to our environment, because there are different viruses in Texas, in the woods in Texas. There's different viruses than there are in the mountains in Colorado, than there are in the Pacific Ocean. There's so many different extracellular vesicles or viruses in these different areas, and it's God's gift to us and our bodies to be able to adapt to our environment so that we can actually be healthy. It's not going to cause us to be sick. It's actually to help us to be healthy in that environment and adapt to that environment. We just need to do our part in taking care of our body and making sure we're prepared for that.
I have a couple of videos that I show on a regular basis that show how natural killer cells, they find this dumping material of viruses that come off of cells, and they're able to identify cells that have been contaminated with foreign invading vesicles and viruses, and they attack and destroy it. But it's quite fascinating how the body will adapt. And that's that second layer. That's how the body, for example, how did our government adapt to terrorism that happened from other parts of the world? And they build up immunity, and they make a plan, and they go in and strike to get that enemy rooted out. That was the virus that was destructive for our people, or destructive in other parts of the world.
So, Steve, now we're going to ask the expert, folks. Check out that article. Give us some feedback on what you think as far as what we've shared. We've shared some things that are pretty interesting to think about. You may agree, you may disagree. Would love to hear your feedback either way. Put some comments down, or in the comment section. Show us your feedback. And then also, we want to make sure you guys remember, check out prospernutrition.com, download the 7 proven steps, put it to the test it for yourself. You're really not going to learn something by just reading or watching videos. You're going to really learn something by actually applying it to your life and testing to see if it works. I had a client come in and see me here at the office, and he and his wife came. They met with me. He had some health issues that he wanted to improve. He came. I put him on a simple program that we help people with, help balance their diet, simple supplementation based on his biochemical needs, and he went on his way. And we scheduled a follow-up for 3 weeks later. He came back and he said he was improved in every way he wanted to improve and was doing much better. And he actually told me in the second visit that he came into the first visit saying, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm actually going to just do everything he says and see if it's going to work. So he put it to the test. He wanted to learn to see if it would work by actually doing it. And so that's what we ask you to do with the 7 proven steps. Go ahead and download it for free and start doing it and feeling the results. And then you can come back to us and let us know your testimony, and let us know how else we can help you. We put the supplements to the test as well. Most of our supplements on prospernutrition.com, they are in a 30-day supply, maybe a little bit more than 30 days, but usually about 30-day supply. Put it to the test for a month. Try one of the supplements, put it to the test for a month.
I would encourage the bundle over the
or a bundle, right?
Because like the immune bundle, and that's only 5 of the top immune products that we use, but it's a good point, Jason, putting it to test. I had a guy, a new client recently, who's been told he has a unique condition, and I'm trying to remember it because I had some new ones this week. And just by putting to the test the food part of his program, which we were able to communicate that he lives in New York, I believe, no, Philadelphia. I had a lady from New York, but this same week. But the Philadelphia gentleman is already seeing amazing results just with the dietary things. 2 of the 7 doing the food and balancing according to the menu plan that we developed, of course, and then which is based on the Mediterranean diet, and then hydrating well, getting the right amount of water based on their body's needs for that, half their body weight in ounces, of course.
That's good. Yeah. All right. So let's get your feedback, Steve. You're the expert. You've been doing this for 30 years, helping thousands of people improve their health. In regard to flus and the shots and vaccinations and all that, like, do you mind sharing your personal stance and what you have done and the results you've seen?
Well, once we learned about the ingredients that are in shots, we started to take a closer look then at how the immune system works. What is the theory? And it is just a theory initially. They're hoping that when you inject something in the body, even with all the preservatives and chemicals that come with it, fillers and binders, you're creating an immune reaction. Now, the immune system isn't generally ready for something like that. So the majority of the people that we talk to, and for the history of ourselves, we got violently sick. I remember the last time I was vaccinated as a kid, I threw up violently within 5-10 minutes. So the reaction to the chemicals in my bloodstream was quickly offloaded, and I tried to expel it as fast as I could. But we didn't vaccinate from a young age for you guys. And of course, one of our grandchildren needed to be vaccinated because we understood how the immune system works. They know that even when you vaccinate, you may or may not get the flu. So vaccines are proven, they're proven to not actually prevent the flu. Your immune system can prevent the flu, or at least minimize the effects from it if you do get it. And if you're carrying an over dominant amount of those viruses in your body, and you're under load, and you will start to have those symptoms. So personally, I had the flu for many years and had it 2 years ago and got it really, really bad, whatever strain that was. But I never had to rush and go get tested and tell me what wonderful strain I have, if you could figure that out, because they're so microscopic. You test for one strain. Well, why don't you test for about 1,000 other strains and find out they're probably really active at the same time, because the cells are dumping and off-gassing this stuff. But my immune system goes to work and it shuts me down. I get tired, I get fatigued. The body's trying to do some housework. We get the fever, we get diarrhea, the body's flushing. That's just the body's doing its healing process. So when I experienced that, a lot of reflection time. Of course, we utilized our immune bundle at that time, and we're taking our immune products 4 times a day. And as I looked back, and hindsight is 20/20, so clear, I saw how I prepared myself to get sick.
That's interesting. Yeah,
I remember it was over the summer. We'd taken vacation. I had just finished a class and I was stressing over getting that done. And then we spent a good part of a month celebrating with family, going out, eating at places we don't normally eat. We were going to water parks, and it wasn't necessarily, I'm getting exposed to a bunch of people at a water park. The most damaging thing about a water park is the toxic chlorinated water that weakens your immune system, because iodine is a natural infective, and chlorine depletes your iodine very heavily and causes a dysfunction in thyroid. So we spent a full day there, well, half the day in a water park. And I can't spend too long in a swimming pool. I'm very goitrogen sensitive. Any chemical that's a goitrogen like that, it affects me.
Right.
So
that's good.
I set myself up, and then just shortly after that, got sick with the flu.
Yeah. Well, I'll make a comment here. So for all you listening, what Steve has been able to do is he's been able to learn a lot about how our body works, that he knows how his body works different than everybody else, and what happens with his body when he does certain things. And I'll say this, the reason I'm mentioning that is, this is why it's helpful for you to either continue to study and learn about your own body and learn about health principles, about what you need to do in order to improve your health. You can do that by doing your own, becoming a nutritionist, or, doing your own in-depth study, and as well as doing testing and evaluating your own testing and what those markers mean. Or you can go to an expert, and it shortens the amount of time for you to figure that out if you go to an expert like a nutritionist like Steve and other practitioners who are focused on identifying the way you work and what you need. And so I just wanted to make that comment. I appreciate you sharing that, Steve, because that's helpful to know a little bit of those tips about how our bodies work and what we can kind of, what happens to us when we lead up to a sickness, what, we're preparing to be sick. And I like that phrase that you used when you said that.
Well,
so I've got
and finishing up a note on that real quick, in light of the 7 proven steps. So principle 1, I wasn't eating healthy food. Principle 2, I wasn't hydrating well. We were outside a lot and doing things, and wasn't drinking water as good as I should. And then we get down into the stress. I was putting more stress in my body because I was trying to make everybody happy over that time where we were celebrating. Then wasn't getting the sleep, staying up late. I just punched all the wrong buttons and set myself up. And then, of course, skipping supplements. When you're out at a water park or you're out doing stuff, a lot of times you're not as prepared. And I remember going, I'll be okay till I get home. But my body's immune system, I know what it needs. And when it gets weak, I have to have that midday dose of ascorbate, of zinc, of quercetin that's in our repair guard. All of those is part of our immune bundle, of course. So that the 7 proven steps, if you really get that into your heart and mind and you develop a balance of that, the homeostasis in your body will love you for it, especially then when you get that targeted nutrition. You can go. And so I would go getting the flu about every 15 years like we did 2 years ago. So hopefully I'll be wise enough to stay clear of weakening myself for the next 13 years again. I hope maybe never have it again. Yeah. Well, and that kind of answers that last question I was going to ask you, was essentially how a person's nutrition and health choices affect whether or not they get the flu. And you succinctly answered that there. And so we encourage you to focus on helping improve your health by changing your lifestyle in positive ways, in ways that you're able to do. You don't have to do it all at once. Do one thing at a time. Use the guidebook to help guide you, and stay tuned. We're going to be talking more in depth. We're going to be bringing experts on. We're going to be bringing people. Actually, I think it's in 2 weeks. We're going to have a young lady come on who is a client of yours, Steve, and she's been seeing great results in regard to her health. I think she was having some challenges with her cycle, and so she's been feeling a lot better. And so join us in 2 weeks for the show where we'll be able to, I believe it's 2 weeks. It might be 3 weeks. Actually, the 18th is 3 weeks. Yeah. So yes. 3 weeks. It'll be the 18th of October if you want to say the date. But thank you all for watching. We've got a coupon code for you today for those who are sticking around near the end of this video. You can get 10% off all products on the Prosper Nutrition store, prospernutrition.com, when you use the code 92123SHOW. So it's today's date. Today's date is September 21st, 2023. So 92123 and SHOW. Use that code, and that will get you 10% off your first order. And you can kind of get started, try out a bundle that works for you based on the quiz, and then you can let us know how things go. Leave a comment, give us any questions that you have. We definitely look forward to doing this more with you. Steve, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your expert and professional feedback from
all the experience you have. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I look forward to more discussions about the immune system, how fearfully and wonderfully made we are.
Yes. Thank you. Well, this has been the Prosper Nutrition Show, where we want you to prosper and be in health. Hope y'all have a great day. We'll see you next week at the same time, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time.